MAGA, as you are well aware of, insists on pushing this idea that the two-tier justice system that exists in the United States is one where Republicans are targeted and treated poorly, and Democrats are protected and treated nicely. Well, time and time again, we've demonstrated this not to be the case. But because they want it to be so bad, it actually ends up blinding them to the actual two-tier justice system, which, funnily enough, the prosecution of Trump pushes back against. It actually proves that the two-tier justice system that does exist isn't always going to prevail, which is the elites, the powerful, the well-connected, the influential, and everybody else, people who don't have the resources, don't have the connections. And that, we've long known. Now MAGA cannot see that and doesn't have the willingness to unite across political lines to try to undo that because of their obsession with pushing this Republican Democratic two-tier justice system, which just doesn't exist. And I have for you here an interesting detail to add into that picture, which is that we have unsealed court documents. And yes, these relate to Epstein and the prosecution of him. And Jeffrey Epstein, the late financier, as he's described, and the sex trafficker of minors. Disgusting human being. And he had connections with very powerful people. And that is one of the reasons people suspect that he wasn't aggressively prosecuted enough for too long. But the only thing that we hear when Epstein is brought up from MAGA is so often, see, this is proof that either the deep state exists or Democrats suck, even though I don't understand the point there. And then they'll completely ignore Trump's close relationship. So we will, in this segment, talk about what was revealed, some interesting stuff in these unsealed documents, bombshell, some might say, and also discuss the sort of two-tier justice system thing that I was mentioning and how MAGA seems to be blind to that because of their narrative. Here's the Associated Press, just sort of the news, then we'll get to these photographs of some interesting things. Florida prosecutors knew that late millionaire and financier Jeffrey Epstein sexually assaulted teenage girls 2 years before they cut a plea deal that has long been criticized as too lenient and a missed opportunity to imprison him a decade earlier, according to transcripts released Monday. The 2006 grand jury investigation was the first of many by law enforcement over the past 2 decades in Epstein's rape and sex trafficking of teenage girls, and how his ties to the rich and the powerful seemed to have allowed him to avoid prison or a serious jail term for over a decade. The investigations uncovered Epstein's close ties to former President Bill Clinton and Britain's Prince Andrew, as well as once friendly relationship with former President Donald Trump and numerous others of wealth and influence who have denied doing anything criminal or improper and not been charged. So as you all know, I'm always very careful because of how often Republicans levy allegations against Democrats they don't like or against the whole population of Democrats with no evidence, but just sort of because of little provocative stories. I want to make sure, even with some major stories, to be mindful of the allegations that we levy. So without any criminal wrongdoing being uncovered, I won't allege that it's taken the place. It is notable, though, that Marjorie Taylor Greene is willing to post things like this. The same demented Democrats that are abusing our justice systems to try to make President Trump a felon refuse to prosecute Epstein's client list. Just think about that. But often, people like Don Jr. will bolster this by saying, you know who's not on the Epstein list? My father. Because if he was, it would have been leaked in about half a second. That's a fact. I guess to prove that Trump's not another deep state figure, you say, see, because he has no association with Epstein, but they had to add context to this, that is. Donald Trump was on Epstein's flight logs at least 7 times. Here are the receipts straight from the court records in the Ghislaine Maxwell case. And before getting to the new information that's been revealed in this latest round of unsealed documents, I hear Trump supporters cite Epstein as proof that Trump's not one of the normal, bad, often Democrats. Okay. Quick.
He's never been to Epstein Island, and
he did appear on Epstein's flight logs like 7 times, right?
Yeah, but
Leonardo III.
So I laugh every time. This video we went brutal with the edits, but one of the first things this guy cited as to why he liked Trump was because Trump, unlike those other powerful people in the inner circle of elites, didn't go to Epstein's island. But what? Again, without making any allegation, I'm just saying Trump was so close with Epstein. Why are you citing that? That's so weird. And often, the Trump's an outsider. Trump's not corrupt. Trump's not a gross sort of QAnon conspiracy theory image of what we picture elites to be. And so he's not pulling the strings like all these other bad people. He's going in there to fight those people. As proved by him not being friends with Epstein, which he was definitely one, more than most. In this latest round, you have Miley saying, prior to marrying Melania in January of 2005, Trump was calling Jeffrey Epstein in 2004 on the regular. We see Donald's phone messages in the West Palm Beach indictment of Epstein released today. His messages are in between girls calling to confirm massage appointments and messages from disgraced modeling agent Jean-Luc Brunel. And you can see the particular messages, the memo sort of thingamajigs cited here. And I did see that Midas Touch was, if I can get over to this, was mentioning this as well. Breaking Donald Trump repeatedly named in newly unsealed Epstein grand jury documents, multiple messages left by Trump for Epstein. And then they reminded us, Midas Touch that is, of this bizarre Fox News interview moment.
Would you declassify the 9/11 files?
Yeah.
Would you declassify JFK files?
Yeah.
Would
I
you,
did. I did a lot of it.
Would you declassify the Epstein files?
Yeah, I would.
All right.
I guess I would. I think that less so because, you don't know. You don't want to affect people's lives if it's phony stuff in there because there's a lot of phony stuff with that whole world. But I think I.
So, yes, maybe. Maybe not. And then Midas does also cite where you can go to get the particular public records. And I was interested to see this really bad deal that was cut. Who cut that deal? The Associated Press did add this context. In 2008, Epstein cut a deal with South Florida federal prosecutors that allowed him to escape more severe federal charges and instead plead guilty to state charges of procuring a person under 18 for prostitution and solicitation of prostitution. He was sentenced to 1.5 years, just 1.5, in the Palm Beach County jail system, during which he was allowed to go to his office almost daily as a part of a work release program. Followed by a year of house arrest, he was required to register as a sex offender, and criticism of the deal resulted in the 2019 resignation of Trump's labor secretary, Alex Acosta, who was the U.S. attorney for South Florida in 2008 and signed off on the deal. And it was concluded that Acosta had some poor judgment in this sweetheart deal for Epstein back then, and again was someone that Trump decided to hire. So maybe MAGA, we don't cite Epstein as Marjorie Greene was doing, as Donald Trump Jr. was doing, as proof of how poorly Trump's being treated. Because Epstein, what's the point they're trying to make? Epstein, I agree, was not treated aggressively enough. And that's why Trump shouldn't be prosecuted. But again, they want us to have this understanding of our justice system. That is, it's poorly treating Trump and those connected to him. But it doesn't go after Democrats properly. When in reality, Epstein getting too soft of treatment by prosecutors is the exact elites and non-elites breakdown. Those who have the resources to put up a really good defense and have a lot of friends in powerful places. Those people don't get treated so often as aggressively as they should, while people who don't have that are treated differently. That is a discrepancy that we want to address. But Trump being prosecuted is us addressing that. That's good. It's good that he's treated like someone who's not above the law. If the Supreme Court isn't able to stop that. So again, Michigan GOP watch. Remember when MAGA was clamoring for the release of Epstein documents? They got really quiet when Trump appeared in the flight logs. More documents are being released. And lo and behold, Trump appears in them too. So just all over these court documents is Donald Trump. And right now, nothing being uncovered of a criminal nature. And because we care about evidence, we don't just wildly accuse people of things. But MAGA, who thinks that, for example, Bill Clinton's friendship with Epstein means they can willy-nilly accuse any Democratic politician they want of being a part of some QAnon conspiracy theory sex trafficking ring, maybe you should think twice about doing that. Maybe you should think twice about acting like this is proof of your deep state conspiracy theories when your guy, who's supposed to be taking down the deep state, has this wildly close relationship, had this wildly close relationship to Epstein, and gets asked about declassifying documents related to him and says, there's a lot of phony stuff in there about people. Just, some people. Who knows? And that is something that you should think about, MAGA. Let me know what you thought of all that in the comments. If you want to get the extra episode of the show daily and support the work we do, you can do so by clicking the join button below.